It was one of those dry, windy afternoons on the ranch when the air feels heavy, like something's about to happen. I was out by the barn fixing a fence when I heard the faint thump-thump-thump of helicopter blades in the distance. At first, I thought it was just another medevac flight passing over. But the sound got louder, and soon, a massive rescue chopper appeared low over the hills. The thing was heading straight for my property. Then I noticed movement by the front. Two guys I'd never seen before were standing there, wearing dark uniforms with shiny badges on their shirts. They looked official at least from a distance, but something about them was off. Their patrol SUV had HOA security enforcement painted on the side in big block letters. "We don't even have an HOA out here." I walked closer, and that's when I heard them shouting into radios, telling the helicopter to divert immediately and clear restricted airspace. My stomach dropped. First of all, it's my land. Second, there's no such thing as restricted airspace over my ranch. And third, that helicopter wasn't just any rescue bird. I recognized the markings and I knew exactly who was flying it. My brother. The same brother who's been a SWAT pilot for over a decade. With more real authority than these two fake cops could ever dream of, the chopper kept descending, kicking up dust and rattling the old barn doors. But the fake HOA guys didn't back down. One of them actually stepped into the middle of my driveway, holding up a hand like he could stop a 40,000-pound aircraft with a palm. The other started walking toward me, asking if I was aware of the legal consequences of allowing unauthorized aircraft landings. I could see my brother's face through the cockpit glass now. He gave me the smallest nod, like he already knew what was going on. The rescue wasn't for me, but something urgent was happening, and time was running out. And right there, between the dust, the noise, and these two imposters blocking the landing zone, I realized we were seconds away from a standoff I never saw coming. I kept my eyes on the two men as the blades above roared louder. Dust swirled everywhere, stinging my face. But I could still see their smirks, like they thought they had complete control over the situation. The taller one, the self-appointed commander, had a heavy flashlight clipped to his belt and a laminated ID badge swinging from a lanyard. I glanced at it for half a second and caught something strange. Didn't have a state seal. Just some generic logo with an eagle that looked like it was printed from a home computer. My brother hovered the helicopter just above the corral, waiting for a clear spot to land. I knew his training. He wouldn't put that bird down unless the area was safe, and right now, these guys were deliberately making sure it wasn't. I yelled over the noise, asking them what their real authority was. The shorter one didn't answer. Instead, he started pacing like he was guarding the place, muttering into a radio that didn't seem to be connected to anything. From the way he kept glancing toward the hills, I had a feeling someone else might be nearby, watching. Here's the thing about my brother. He's not just a pilot. He's flown into active hostage zones, wildfire evacuations, and natural disasters. If he was here, it wasn't for a routine flight, which made me wonder why. Were these fake HOA cops so determined to stop him? A sudden gust from the rotor wash rattled the tin on the barn roof. Shh! One of the imposters stepped back a little, shielding his eyes, but the taller one didn't move. He kept signaling at the helicopter, waving his arms like a traffic cop gone rogue. I caught a glimpse of my brother adjusting his headset, his eyes fixed firmly on the ground on them. That's when I saw it, tucked under the taller man's jacket was something metallic. He shifted slightly, and the sunlight hit it just enough to glint. My heartbeat picked up. This wasn't just some petty prank. Whoever they were, they came prepared for more than just yelling at helicopters, and above us. My brother's rescue chopper kept circling lower, the urgency in every move telling me whatever was coming next was already set in motion. The wind from the rotor wash was nearly deafening now. But underneath the noise, I could still hear the fake HOA cop muttering into that useless radio. Every few seconds, his tone shifted calm one moment, then sharp and urgent the next, like he was getting instructions from someone else. I couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't working alone. Out here in the middle of ranch country, there's plenty of open land for someone to hide in. My brother kept the helicopter hovering, circling in a slow pattern, buying time. I knew his habits. He was scanning, assessing every possible landing zone, probably already running through a dozen contingency plans in his head. The fact that he hadn't touched down yet meant one thing. He saw danger. The taller fake officer took a step toward me, his boots crunching in the gravel. His voice was low now, just loud enough to cut through the wind. "You need to call that helicopter off." Now, the way he said it, steady and almost polite, made my skin crawl more than if he'd been yelling. I thought about asking why, but the answer wouldn't matter. If they were willing to stand here and pretend to have authority, they weren't going to tell the truth. My eyes flicked toward the hills again. Nothing moved, but that didn't mean nothing was there. Then I remembered something my brother told me once during a late-night talk. When things don't add up on the ground, they usually make sense from the air. That stuck with me. Maybe he'd already spotted whatever these guys didn't want him to see. The shorter one suddenly pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket and flashed it at me like it was some kind of official document. The edges were frayed, and the text was smudged. He called it an emergency jurisdiction order, but I'd never heard of such a thing outside of movies. And all the while, my brother kept the choppers circling, the thump of the blades matching, the pounding in my chest. The air felt heavier, charged, like something was about to break hand once it did. There'd be no going back. The taller man was close enough now that I could see the fine layer of dust on his boots, and the way his jaw tightened every time the helicopter dipped lower. The shorter one had moved off to the side, angling himself toward the corral like he was trying to block a particular spot from view. My brother's helicopter made another tight pass overhead, the wash bending the grass flat and rattling the fence posts. I took a slow step back, not because I was scared, but because I wanted a better angle to see what they were guarding. That's when I spotted fresh tire tracks cutting through the dirt near the far fence line. They didn't belong to me. Someone had been here recently, and in a hurry. The prints were deep, like a heavy truck had barreled in, then turned around. Fast, the taller fake cop caught my glance and shifted to block my view. "Eyes on me," he said, his voice steady but sharp. "This is a controlled situation." I almost laughed. Nothing about this felt controlled, except maybe whatever they were hiding above us. My brother slowed the helicopter into a hover so low I could see the rescue harness hanging from the side. That told me everything I needed to know he wasn't here for a casual flyover. He was ready for extraction. But extraction of who? Or what? A crackle of static came from the taller man's radio, followed by a voice I couldn't make out. He nodded once, then looked straight at me. "You've got 10 seconds to clear the landing zone," he said. But he wasn't talking to help the pilot. He was talking like the landing was the problem. Dust swirled so thick I had to squint, and through that haze I saw movement near the far ridge. Just a flicker like someone darting behind the old water tower. My brother must have seen it too, because the helicopter's nose shifted toward it. The two imposters tensed at the same time, hands moving toward their belts. My pulse hammered in my ears. Something was about to happen, and when it did, this quiet ranch would never feel the same again. The taller man froze mid-step, his eyes narrowing at the ridge. He must have realized my brother's helicopter wasn't focused on him anymore, because his whole posture shifted less intimidation, more urgency. He spoke fast into his radio, but the wind ripped away most of the words. The shorter one broke. into a jog toward the corral, glancing back at me like he expected I might follow. Through the haze of dust, the figure near the old water tower moved again, this time stepping fully into view. It wasn't who I expected. It was a woman, dressed in a dark jacket and carrying what looked like a bulky case. She was walking quickly, head down. But every few steps, she glanced toward the helicopter as if she knew exactly who was inside. My brother adjusted the chopper's position, holding steady just above the ridge. I could almost see the wheels turning. In his head, if he was here for her, the whole fake HOA cop routine suddenly made a lot more sense. They weren't here to protect anyone. They were here to stop her from leaving. The taller man barked something sharp. The shorter one changed course, heading straight for the ridge. That's when I noticed the case in the woman's hands wasn't just heavy, it was locked with a thick steel clasp. And from the way she clutched it, whatever was inside mattered more than anything else around us. The wind from the helicopter whipped through the yard, and the woman picked up her pace, but she was still far from the landing zone. My brother dipped the nose of the chopper lower, like he was preparing to set down in an open patch near her position. The taller fake cop spun toward me, frustration breaking through his controlled expression. "Call him,"